blade of the 47 will once again be wielded by a true descendant.
Your clan, all the samurai, they need you now more than ever.
Everyone, well, welcome to Martial Art Lifestyle Magazine special podcast. This one on the release of Blade of the 47 Ronin. And we're fortunate enough today to have a friend of mine by the name of Dan Southworth, who is playing a role in the film. And he's going to talk to us a little bit about the film itself and how he got involved in it and all the fun stuff therein. Welcome, Dan. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
And I know you're kind of a busy guy. We have some great conversations about everything from martial arts to filmmaking and everything in between, which I guess can include a lot of things a lot of times. But you're a busy guy, and I really appreciate you taking a few minutes here to allow us to steal some of your time anyway.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about this film. I mean, I remember 47 Ronin that was out several years ago, which was, I believe, a kind of modern remake of an old film.
So you're referring to the one starring Keanu Reeves, yes?
Yes.
Because this is a sequel to that takes place 300 years later.
Okay, so it's in the modern world?
It's in the modern world, and there are references to characters from that film, but it's not a sequel in the sense that any of those characters come back. These are descendants of those characters.
Okay.
In this film.
That's interesting. So what do you play in the film, or who do you play?
I play a descendant of the villain in that film. So once again, a mystic, a magical user. They call them witches. I guess I would be a warlock in that sense, in this world, in this realm. And I played the main antagonist.
All right. So it's almost family business, right? The old generation was the bad guys, so the new generation is the bad guys too.
Sure. Yes.
Very cool. So how did you get involved in this?
My career spans both being an actor and action supervision or action design. I got started when my action career took off when I started working with one of Jackie Chan's choreographers, and he was a mentor for quite a while. And then I got a chance to work with the Japanese stunt team that does, in particular, the Alpha Stunts and AAC, which stands for Attractive Action Club. Those are the Japanese stuntmen that were involved with Power Rangers when it came out in the 90s. And they were doing some pretty amazing action on television. And I don't think a lot of people were appreciating that and getting a chance to enjoy what they were putting together, because I think through them, that is one of the reasons the show became so very popular. It was, a lot of wire action fight choreography that was going on here in America and on television before martial law and before that stuff started becoming real popular here. Otherwise, it was mainly seen in Hong Kong films that were being imported. So that's how I got my start. I started working with them, and I happened to be in Budapest doing another film called Saint Seiya. And that's coming out. That was directed by the executive producer of The Witcher, and I was a part of the action team for that. And the producers decided to bring me over to this film upon completion of that one. And when I got involved, I knew the director. I'd known him for a long time, 27 years, but we never actually worked together until this film. And he knew I was an actor. We both know of each other that way. He's also, like me, an actor who also has an action background. And he offered me the role of the main villain. We talked about it. The executives at Universal were a little, of course, weary because I'd be wearing two hats, but he went to bat for me and assured them that I had the capability to do it because he knew of the way I worked and that I had done that in the past. And he was also somebody who did that as well. So it was just the right connection. It was pretty serendipitous in that sense.
Nice.
And
so play a bad guy. How fun is it to play the villain?
It's always fun. I mean, I did that. I had I was a reoccurring on Power Rangers many years ago, playing an anti-hero who has a character arc. And throughout my career, I've oscillated back and forth between, smaller characters who are part of the, protagonist plot and or instead main villains and antagonists. And those are my favorite to play. You have much more latitude. And that's what makes it a lot of fun. When you're playing the main character, as I have in my career a few times, there is a lot more that you're beholden to in terms of the producers that are putting it together, or the showrunners and the director. And there's a lot more input on what they want to see out of your performance in terms of how it, contributes to the story arc that they've spent years sometimes building. But when you're the main villain, there can be, of course, a lot of conferring going on about what course you should take, but there tends to be a lot less restriction on choices, on artistic choices. In this film, the director and I actually did sit down and talk about where this character was coming from, and we did spend a little bit more time exploring what choices this character I would make as an actor regarding where this character's disposition is. And I think that contributed to the performance that you'll see. I love having the opportunity to confer with the director over the character. I think that's important. I think sometimes when you're given too much freedom, you can kind of feel like you're out in the abyss with no real direction to go. So it's really nice to have a director who does have a vision and to be able to confer with him or her in that sense, to give you something to be grounded to. And then, of course, what was wonderful about this director is any ideas I had that would come out in the discussion, he was very open to the thoughts that I had on the character and some of the creative choices I would make. And then that kind of collaboration is what builds a good story or a good performance.
Nice. Well, what did you find unique about this villain? I mean, you said you've played villains before. What is there anything like kind of really stand out unique about this particular character?
This character, when you watch him, it's very clear that he's not. He doesn't come across as emotionally evil. He's not such a black and white character in that sense. So, I mean, when I play villains, I always approach them as the heroes of their own stories. There's got to be something that drives somebody to go to such extremes. So usually I'll dive into a character and do a little research on and sort of thought experiments on what would drive a character to become so extreme. And of course, I put that into this character. But I think that what's different about this one is that he does have some emotional tenderness there in his agenda. And that comes across and gives the character an endearing layer, which makes you love to hate him, I think. There's more to this story there's a little bit more to his backstory that was cut out for time's sake, and again, because ultimately the executive producers decided that some of the choices we made were not in line with the kind of the efficiency of the story they wanted to tell. So, and that always happens. And that's always great to have stuff cut out rather than to have somebody coming to you saying, you're not giving enough.
Right.
And so that's what gives the character so much depth, is that we had all this extra stuff that you don't see in terms of a scene that takes place where it's fleshed out more, but you do feel and see it in the moments that he's on screen.
Nice. And what about this particular story? What's unique about this particular story? It's gonna, this martial art genre is still going strong, and we'll talk about that in a second. But what do you think is gonna kind of pull the audience to this?
Well, I think that this is a little more progressive in the sense of the traditional martial arts action genre. It's got a more of an ensemble cast, which is very nice about it. There's not one protagonist that you latch onto in terms of their story and you're only interested in their story. All of the characters, all of the supporting characters that help, you can of course narrow it down to a protagonist in this film that you're actually following and that is carrying the film, but all of the supporting characters are really a part of that journey, and it's not so clear cut, whose story this is, and that's what's nice about it. I think that what happens in this story is you follow a particular character and realize that character is not necessarily what who the whole story revolves around, and that's really nice. And I think that makes it fun. It allows you to have and pick favorite characters rather than just being stuck with who we're saying you should like and this is why. And it's a balanced cast.
That's good. That's pretty smart. If you think about the popularity of sort of long form television shows that are going on now, that was kind of giving us something like that, where we do have a lot of characters that we tend to like in the long form TV. And if, this film's kind of jumping into that, that's kind of a probably a smart choice, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, yes, you can narrow it down to the two female protagonists that the story revolves around, but really when you look at it, it's the group. It's this group of heroes that goes through this journey together.
Nice. Well, I was looking, I saw some familiar names in the cast besides yours, of course. So who else you got in this film with you?
You have Anna Akana, Teresa Ting, and you have Mark Dacascos, Mike Moe, Yoshi Sidarso, and Dustin Nguyen. And all of them I've known over the years from the industry. We've worked together on a few things, or we've been in each other's orbit. So this was wonderful for us to all come together and get a chance to work on this. Also co-starring in the film are Chikako Fukuyama and Luna Fujimoto. So that rounds out the full cast. And then you have Nino Furuhata. He plays a supporting character that's really a lot of fun. And that's what we have in the film.
Very nice. That's awesome. So you're one of the unique folks in that you're an actor, but you have a very serious and strong martial art background as well. So, a lot of actors will study it because they need it for a role, but you've actually got a very solid background in it that stands on its own. How did you get mixed up in all that fun stuff?
I was a martial artist before I came to Los Angeles 27 years ago. And right away, would say within 3 or 4 years, I started working with the action teams and decided to take that path because of that's what Jackie Chan did. And, I came out to do action films and be an action star. And my heroes in action film were guys like Jackie Chan, who were also stuntmen. So I decided that maybe I should follow that path. For me, my stunt career kind of took off like gangbusters, and because of who I was working with and the quality of work we were doing. So I actually had to take a step back and remove myself from the stunt world a little bit, and in order to follow through with my acting, my work as an actor and my studies as an actor, and push that part of my career forward. And that took some time and some dedication. And after the long good fight, I was able to prevail in that sense. The nice thing about it, about being involved with action design in the beginning of my career, was that I became an actor that people knew could do my own action, and that afforded me a little more latitude and a little bit more of a foot in the door for some films. So that's how I got involved. That's how I was sort of, the action has played a role in my career, and being a dedicated martial artist, I didn't just stick to one style. I was always very interested in studying a lot of different styles, and it became a twofold agenda. Just because I enjoy the knowledge and the capability to put it all together, take from the things that take elements of styles that I felt worked, and do my own sort of experimentation on sort of my own style and what fit my abilities and my capabilities. But also that gave me a broader sense of how and what to create in terms of choreography, so that I could put something together that would match the style the producers or director was looking for, or be really conducive to teasing out a great performance from the actors I was working with. Because, when you have more of that sort of knowledge, then you can fine tune choreography for an actor so that it fits them and it fits their body. And that's what's most important, so that it becomes, when you see them performing, it becomes something that looks natural and comfortable. It's just, and I always liken it to learning your lines as an actor. You learn the lines to get the lines out of the way so that you can then focus on the performance. And then the lines are secondary, they're there. And then if you have to improvise a little bit, sometimes I don't usually do that a lot, but sometimes it's necessary, then you can, because the lines are out of the way and you have an understanding and you're focusing on who the character is. And it's the same when you're doing fight choreography on film and in television. You get the physicality out of the way. And the only way to do that is a lot of rehearsal. And of course, the better trained somebody is that you're working with, the easier it is to get that stuff out of the way. Just like an actor, if an actor is well trained, then it's easy for them to get the lines out of the way, and you can get to the creative work and the performance of it. Specifically, developing and creating those nuances that make people like what they're seeing. And it's the same for action. And in this film, this group of actors, they're all very talented, all very well trained. And that's what we did. The task was to try to get them together as much as possible, which really wasn't hard, because they were all amazingly professional and were calling me and asking me if they could get 2 more rehearsals. So that was actually really nice. And important, because we had a very truncated preparation schedule. So these actors showed up for 8 hours a day, and they would show up after they would get done with their makeup tests and their wardrobe fittings, which is an indication of the dedication they had to this film, and also all of their dedication to this director. We've all known this director for a long time, and he's a dear friend of ours on top of all of this. So we were all willing to give everything we could. And it shows. It shows when you watch the film. The choreography is very entertaining. I think it's some of the best sword fight choreography I've seen in a long time. And and I mean that. I mean, I know there's Ronin, Kenshin, and those films that have come out, and I haven't had the chance to look at them in full, but I've seen the choreography on them, and it is fantastic choreography. But I also feel like this choreography is just as fantastic. And that's to the credit of the 2 choreographers, James Newman and Zach Roberts, that were brought onto the show and spent a lot of time caring about it enough to find character nuances to infuse into the choreography, not just to do slashes and hacks and go, hey, this is a cool disarm move, but actually have character arc and character goals drive the direction of that action. That was a mouthful.
That's awesome. Was there anything in this film, in the choreography, in the martial arts of it, that was something new for you, something exciting, that you hadn't done before?
I wish I could say yes, but the answer truthfully is no. No, for me. I was watching the other actors playing characters that were getting a chance to do some really cool samurai sword choreography. And if I would have had a chance to do more of that, I would have ate it up. That would have been, that would have allowed me to say yes to. But my character was a different kind of character, not a sword wielding character, even though I've played sword wielding characters throughout my career, particularly Japanese type characters and samurai kind of characters. What was interesting about this character was developing a style for how he employs his magic. And because he is related to and works with the ninja clan that is at odds with the samurai, I decided to do some research on kujikiri techniques. And what you see in the film is purely fantastic and made up and creative, but it's grounded in kujikiri. And I had to do a whole write-up for Universal to, explain to them that these techniques are just meditation techniques, that the hand gestures and finger patterns that you'll see in the film are not going to offend somebody somewhere in the world.
Wow, yeah.
So
good.
that was,
yeah. Yeah.
Say that again.
I said it's good that they do that kind of homework. It does seem a little, but it's good.
I was not annoyed by the request to write up an explanation. I found that I absolutely found that integral, and I respected it. That they were concerned about that, and that's how far that they were willing to go to make sure that they're producing their film on the level and with some integrity. So, but that would be something a little bit more new and different. I had done a little bit of that when I played Kenshi the Blind Swordsman in Mortal Kombat Legacy. That's on HBO right now, actually, HBO Max. But you don't see a lot of it in the show because I was framed up here and my kujikiri down here.
Yeah.
But that's okay. There's a little bit I do with the sword that I interact with, this magical sword I have as that character. But other than that, I mean, for me, I've seen everything, if I feel like, when it comes to fight choreography. So it's no longer about, and I used to work with some people that would say to me, superiors that would say to me, show me something I've never seen before. And it's impossible these days. Everybody flips and flies through the air. I mean,
yeah.
the only thing that we can do that would actually outdo any of that is to use computer generated graphics or wire work, but we've done both. But the thing that I keep coming back to that I find interesting is it's really not what's different about the style that you're using. It's how well it aligns with the character's agenda,
right,
and the story that you're telling. And time again, I found, at least in the last 10 to 15 years of my career, that if you approach the choreography from a character standpoint and you build it that way, it's always interesting. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it is. And my favorite example to use is, you can do a John Wayne fight in a bar, and it's going to be just as exciting and interesting if you're really behind that character and what he needs to do to survive that moment.
Right.
I believe that, and I think it works. And there was one time I was working on a film. The director came up to me and he said, "Who do you want to be today? Do you want to be Jackie Chan, Jet Li? Do you want to be," he said somebody else, Jackie Chan, Jet Li, or
Tony Jaa or somebody.
Bruce Lee. He said, "Bruce Lee, you want to be Jackie Chan, Jet Li, or Bruce Lee today? What style do you want?" And the AD was making a joke, and he said, "Say John Wayne and we'll be out of here before lunch." And it was funny, but I liked the idea because it was in keeping with who my character was that I was playing at that moment. And I thought, what an amazing thing if this guy that you expect is going to do all these kicks and punches and flips and flies through the air, instead just John Wayne's these guys out. And the director didn't go for it because, of course, there was a martial arts action show, and we needed to show that. But I never forgot that, and I plan to use that somewhere in the future in my career, and specifically just to show that if you care about the character, it's just not going to matter what they're doing,
exactly
how they're doing it.
So So speaking kind of that in the genre, in the larger sense, what do you think it is about this martial arts film genre that, I mean, it's still around? It's a, genres kind of come and go, but it's always pretty strong, it seems.
It's been on the longest run I've seen in my lifetime.
Yeah, I agree. Probably, I think it's beyond both of our lifetimes, actually, when we think about it. I think.
Yeah.
So, what is it about this thing? Because it's, again, I'm kind of like you. It's not like when I watch a new martial art movie, I'm not seeing anything so new and different, but I'm still there.
I think that there are two, at least off the top of my head, two main reasons I think that is the case. And the first is that it's become very popular. I mean, MMA is something that a lot of us recognize as a mix of martial arts that we've been pursuing all our lives, and now it's a popular kind of sport to watch on television. It's become more widely accepted. It's become a part of the culture. So it wasn't like that when I was growing up. I was the only Asian kid on the block, and I was half Asian, but to everybody else, I was the only Asian kid on the block, and I was expected to do some martial arts because I was Asian, and that was exotic. Right. Nobody'd seen any of that kind of stuff. It wasn't, it just wasn't as ubiquitous as it is today. I think the second thing about why you're seeing a lot of that is that it's an empowering tool. In real life, it's just empowering. It is, and we know that as martial artists. But as a device, cinematically, it's also empowering, because you can instantly take any character, and if you give them some cool martial art looking moves, then we know as an audience from watching martial arts action over years that we understand, oh, this character is going to be able to do something. He or she is suddenly empowered, and they have this ability. It's almost like a superpower, right? It for guys like me, it reminds me of being that kid again when learning martial arts for the first time. Just learning how to do an outward block was like the coolest thing. It was magic. I mean, we know now from experience and mixing it all together that that's not always the thing that really works, even 30% of the time.
Right.
It can work, would it surprise somebody, but when you put that kind of an element into a cinematic realm, and you give it some flair, suddenly it's interesting and exciting, and it's part and parcel with filmmaking and storytelling. Just as nobody wields a gun like a marksman, like an expert marksman, the way we see them on film and television, but you put a device like that in somebody's hand, and suddenly they're empowered, and you can insinuate that they're an expert marksman, and now they can do something a little bit more out of the ordinary. My personal taste is that I would like to see it swing back a little bit, and I would like to see that just because somebody has a weapon in their hand or some knowledge does not mean that they're immortal or, impervious to pain or failure. That's the thing that makes a hero what he or she is, the struggle.
Vulnerability, right?
Yeah, vulnerability. And, you can put a skill like that in somebody's, you can endow them with that kind of a skill, a character with that kind of skill, but they should still struggle through it, like Ralph Macchio's character in The Karate Kid.
I was just about to say, that's kind of the cool thing about today. We're looking at such an infusion of different, where like martial art movies kind of went through periods of time where a particular subgenre of the genre was popular. Now we're looking at something like this Blade of 47 Ronin, which is a fantasy type. And then you've got, the Karate Kid, the Cobra Kai, which is a little bit more, soap opera, fun, fun for those of us who grew up with that. It's our,
you have your flavor now. You have, just like you have your flavor of film, you have your flavor of martial arts action. If you want to see high flying fantasy and really interesting, crazy stuff, and that's your taste, then you have that. Or if you want to see something more realistic, those films are out there. Warrior is a film like that. That's more drama driven, but about these two martial artists, A fantastic film, by the way. Of course, it had two fantastic actors in it.
Right. Oh, I interrupted you. You were talking about Ralph Macchio anyway, and I just kind of got excited.
No. I think I had made my point with Ralph Macchio.
But yeah, I mean, you do
Daniel's
see.
son.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a vulnerability to the character there. You know, I think is talking about, and with all those characters, it's a fun ride.
It's possible we may see that pendulum swing back a little bit as people get enough of their superhero action films, you know. And I'm not panning those at all. I grew up reading those comic books,
Oh,
and
of course, yeah.
that they're all out there for us to sate our appetites on that kind of thing. Like anything, you get to a point where you get full, you know, and you start to look for something a little bit different, maybe.
Exactly. Well, one thing I kind of wanted to tell you, because I didn't know if you're aware of. So I met Dan at the Inosanto Academy, where we both study. And Dan, I don't know if you've ever noticed on the downstairs training floor, there's like a little pulley thing up on the ceiling.
I did.
Okay, so that was for training stunt guys for the first 47 Ronin.
Oh wow, that's really cool.
Yeah. So the prequel to the film you're in, some of the stunt guys trained there, and Keanu actually trained there just a little bit as well. And that was a rig they had for something that they were incorporating. I don't remember exactly what, but you know, and they've never taken it down. And I use it to hang the piñatas for the kids' Halloween parties.
I noticed right away because I could tell what kind of pulley it was, and I could see the tech line in it. And I noticed those things because I always because that's what I used to do for a long time, is rig wire action and utilize it. So I noticed those things right away.
I thought that might be a fun little piece of trivia for you.
But now that I know that, I think that's extra cool.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. It was pretty neat little time. They all kind of snuck in there on off hours and did a little training and choreography and stuff. And it was really pretty interesting. I think that was Jeff and Tsuyoshi were involved with that, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you know, and that's a school that was on the forefront for the longest time and led the charge in combining styles and taking bits and pieces from everything, you know. And so it doesn't surprise me that some of our today big time working action design professionals have come out of that school, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Dan, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you got some other projects and such you're working on, but I appreciate you taking the time to talk
a lot of fun
about this project.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Absolutely. And folks out there, you know, hit the like button and subscribe and all that good stuff that you do on these social media and streaming platforms.
Instagram is at Dan_Southworth. You can see the trailer for the film there and a few other posts and some of the posters, and get some information on when it's coming out. It's coming out October 25th, which is next
October 25th. Yeah, which is just a couple days from now. I believe we're filming this here on the 22nd, this interview, so just a few days away.
You can order it on digital and Blu-ray, or you can watch it stream it on Netflix. Your choice.
Oh, okay, so you can get a hard copy yourself, or you can watch it on Netflix. All right. Well, thanks again, Dan. We much appreciate you. Just appreciate you in general, sir. But we appreciate
you very much. Thank you very much.
Some time with us. Take care.